Welcome to our virtual conference call for Thursday, September 24th, convening at 5 p.m.
Mark Clark
has joined the conference.
The meeting will be called to order, and let the record reflect we have a quorum to do business for the city. Now we'll call upon Sean to please take a roll call vote of all those.
Ashley Hopper has joined the conference.
Please answer present when your name is called by Sean.
Doug Reeser.
Present.
Sean Wright Browner.
Present.
Mark Clark.
Present.
In the room with me, I have Jim Hennigan, Street Department Supervisor, Jason Fenwick, City Controller. Virtually, I have Ashley Hopper, City Attorney, and Shree, City Engineer.
Okay. At this time, there is a process that we would like for you to announce concerning any citizens that might want to join this meeting virtually.
The public is...
That you could read, Sean?
Yes, sir. The public is invited to attend. The Board of Works and Safety may impose reasonable restrictions on the number of attendees to control audience density in consideration of the existing COVID-19 national emergency. The public may participate remotely by dialing 463-777-8704 and entering the following participation code 809410. If you would like to provide comments remotely, please email them to rrafala@cityoflawrence.org.
Thank you very much for that. We will move directly to the minutes of the September 10th meeting. Are there any corrections, deletions, or additions to those minutes? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve.
By Mrs. Browner. Is there a second?
Second.
By Mr. Clark. Are there questions on the motion? Hearing none, again, Sean will do a roll call vote if the call is done and affirm whether that board member approves of the motion.
Doug Reeser.
Aye.
Sean Wright Browner.
Aye.
Mark Clark.
I approve.
Okay, motion carries 3-0. September 10th meetings are approved. We'll move on to the next item, which is unfinished business before the board, which we have none, which leads us directly to the new business at hand. And item A is approve and ratify lease terms for EMS vehicles. Do you have any questions on that? Or I think Mr. Fenwick is present. And
yes. Just generally, for the EMS vehicles, it will be a 5-year term with a not-to-exceed interest rate of 2% and a not-to-exceed principal amount of $100,000.
Questions on the terms? Mr. Fenwick, anybody?
And this is Ashley Hopper.
Oh,
I'm sorry, this is Ashley. Yes, and these vehicles were approved by the board at the end of last year for purchase, I believe, in December. So these are just simply the lease terms. So if the board is inclined to approve that, these lease terms would be contained within the minutes of the meeting that you would approve at the next month or next meeting. Additionally, Mr. Fenwick had to submit some paperwork, so I would just ask that your motion be to approve and ratify lease terms and actions for all EMS vehicles.
Is that pending the documents?
There aren't, that's what Mr. Fenwick summarized for you, were the lease terms. That's what he did previously in regards to another vehicle. So this is part of a master lease agreement. This is a separate schedule as part of a master lease agreement the board approved. Jason, was that back in 2016?
Yes, and as Ashley's indicated, so the master lease agreement has been previously approved, and so really the only difference here is this is a separate financing schedule off of that master lease, and then the only thing that would be different from the master lease are the terms that were mentioned in terms of amount, interest rate, and maturity.
So he's asking for you to approve all the lease terms that he stated here today pursuant to that, for those vehicles. So we're just asking you to approve and ratify, approve the lease terms and ratify all actions.
I just didn't know if we needed to add in the approved master lease in in the approval or not. It's not that big a deal. I was just curious.
No, you've already approved the master lease again a few years ago. This is a separate schedule to that lease agreement.
Okay.
Hearing none, is there a motion to approve and ratify the lease terms for the EMS vehicles and ratify all actions?
Motion to approve
By Mr. Clark,
on.
and is there a second?
Second.
By Mrs. Browner. Further questions on the motion? Hearing none, we'll do again roll call order.
Doug Reeser.
Sean, you'll.
Doug
Aye.
Reeser. Sean Wright Browner.
Aye.
Mark Clark.
I approve.
Okay, the motion carries 3-0, so that item is approved. And we'll move on to item B, which is approved purchase for a plow truck for the street department. Are there any questions on this or comments or notes from Mr. Hennigan or anybody on this? This is standard work every now and again that we have to do this with the plow truck.
Yes, this is the city's first tandem axle dump truck. This is, we have the capacity of holding twice the amount of sand and salt and whatever. It also is a plow truck, and it also is gonna serve as a brine truck. It has 800 gallons of brine.
I'm sorry, Jim, we can't hear you very well.
Can you hear me now?
You might have to.
You're gonna have
might
to speak up.
use your phone rather than.
Yeah, he's gonna come up here.
All right, can you hear me now?
There we go.
All righty. Yeah, this will be the city's first ever tandem axle dump truck. It's a plow truck, a salt truck, and a brine truck. It has the capabilities of carrying 800 gallons of brine, so that's a lot of brine to put on the roads before a storm, which is going to help us tremendously. And it's also going to help us be able to go get our own stone and sand, which is going to save us a lot of money by haul fees and, you know, stuff like that. So it's going to be a big benefit to us.
Is it replacing a truck, or is it in addition to the fleet we already have?
This is additions to what we have. We have some trucks. Go ahead, Ashley.
No, I would just add that, I spoke to Mr. Hennigan. This is something that he started working on in 2019. And I believe he had recalled speaking to the board about it, but we wanted to make sure to go ahead and make sure you had approved purchase of the plow truck. And all the It was purchased through Sourcewell, and that is a cooperative purchasing agency that Mr. Hennigan or Mr. Fenwick can address, but they do all the bidding and public purchasing, and so Mr. Hennigan said that this was done through Sourcewell, and the quote that you have received was solicited through them, so they did all the public purchasing again. And so that was the order that was done in 2019. So we just were asking you to approve that purchase and then the second part of that would be number C, which are the lease terms that Mr. Fenwick will address in a moment. But again, I just want the record to reflect it was done through Sourcewell.
And one thing
When we get to,
sorry, go ahead.
Mr. Sean, when we get to C, I guess I'm trying to determine what's the difference between purchase and leasing, so
No, that's it.
I'll wait till then.
Okay, yeah, but we're not replacing any truck, but I've been lucky enough to acquire 2 new employees in the last year. So now I have a truck for a guy to get in, which is gonna give us more big trucks on the road.
The only question I have is, Chairman, here is if we are using the correct term plow truck, or if we need to use a different term. It's listed on our agenda as a plow truck. I heard you said it's going to be for a lot of.
Well, yeah, it's a dump truck with a salt box in it, a snow plow. I mean, it's everything like we used to get.
Use the word tandem like a concept.
Yeah.
I was asking Ashley, is this okay to use the plow truck? Are we going to be recovered on that?
That's fine, or if you want to do, I think it says tandem, so I put plow on because one of the estimates was said plow. So if you want to do a tandem plow truck or however you want to word that, I think that's fine. As long as you're approving the purchase of it. Again, this is something that Mr. Hennigan started working on in the end of 2019. He thought he had talked to the board about it previously, but nonetheless, it was done through Sourcewell. All the public purchasing was done. So we're just asking you to approve the purchase. If you want to refer to it as tandem or plow, I don't think it matters as long as the minutes reflect their approval of the purchase.
I think we'll entertain the motion as a tandem plow truck, since we put some other information on it just for the record. Are there other questions before we entertain a motion?
Well, I think Sean wanted some clarification on the type of lease it is, and I think it's is it a dollar buyout lease?
Okay, hold you up there, Mark, a minute, please. Board member, we want to take on item B first, and then we're going to go to item C concerning the lease agreements and all that discussion. I just don't want to incorporate both of those together right now, if we may.
All right, sorry.
Okay. Okay, let's move on to item number B, which is to approve the purchase of a tandem plow truck for the street department. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve the purchase of a tandem plow truck.
By Mrs. Brandon. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Clark. Are there questions on the motion? Hearing none, we will entertain again a roll call vote on the motion.
Doug Reeser,
Aye.
Sean Wright Browner,
Aye.
Mark Clark.
I approve.
Okay, then that item B, there will be the approval purchase of the tandem plow truck for the street department, which now leads us to item C, which we can have some explanation on the way it's stated, the approval of the lease terms for the, and I'm going to say tandem plow truck for the street department vehicle. And I know we'll want to hear from Mr. Fenwick and Attorney Hopper at this point.
So similar to the lease for the EMS vehicles, this is another schedule off of the master lease facility. The terms we would like approval for are not to exceed, which would be not to exceed an amount of $200,000, not to exceed a term of 7 years, and not to exceed an interest rate of 2%.
Thank you for those comments. Public City Attorney, do you have any other comments?
I don't. Thank you, though.
And if I could interject, so I think that one of the questions was this a dollar type lease? So it is not. Unfortunately, the lease terminology, I think, is how the bank or the banks book these on their books. But this is effectively the same as a loan for us. So if we do a 7-year term, we'll pay semi-annual principal and interest payments until maturity, of which we will then own the truck outright without having to make any future payments. And then the purchase of the truck, I guess you could say, is technically being purchased by the bank with the proceeds from the lease financing, and then we pay them back.
Okay. Any questions? Hearing none, is there an approval for the lease terms for the tandem plow truck and street department?
Motion to approve.
By Mr. Clark. Would there be a second?
Second?
By Mrs. Brown. Are there questions on the motion? Hearing none, again, we'll call order. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Doug Reeser,
Aye.
Sean Wright Browner,
Aye.
Mark Clark.
Aye.
And motion carries 3-0, so that lease term agreement is approved. There is no other new business before the board. Do we have any administrative comments at this time?
Just one quick comment. I'll say tonight is the second to last farmers market for the year. So if you haven't been out, you have 2 more attempts to get there. And we do have Loggers in Lawrence on Saturday at Civic Plaza. Due to the COVID-19, the attendance is limited, but there'll be proper social distancing practiced at that event as well.
Anything else on citizens' comments or administrative comments? We'll move to citizens' comments. I don't know, Sean, if we got anyone there.
Nope, nobody's here.
No one came on our virtual call, so we'll move on to adjournment. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
By Mrs. Brown. Is there a second?
Second.
By Mr. Clark. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For
Thank you.